Hello everyone, in this video we will learn about gametogenesis. So the primary sex organ that we call the testes and ovaries. So testes in male and the ovaries in female that produce gametes. That is the sperms and the ovum respectively by the process of gametogenesis. So in gametogenesis the production of gamete occur, and in this process in males sperm is formed and in females ovum is formed. And in testes, the immature male germ cell that we call the spermatogonia. It produces sperms by spermatogenesis, and that begins at puberty. That means after a particular age or after getting the puberty, at that time it will starts. Now in spermatogenesis, the spermatogonia which is present the inside wall of seminiferous tubule, it will starts multiply, and it will starts multiply by the mitotic division and it will increase in number. After that, the spermatogonium which is diploid, and that is why it contains 46 chromosome. Just because it is a diploid cell, so each diploid cell is containing the 46 chromosome in human beings. And some of the spermatogonia that we call the primary spermatocyte periodically undergoes meiosis. So in some of the spermatogonia, what is happening that we call the primary spermatocyte, it will periodically undergoes meiosis and it will start dividing. A primary spermatocyte completes the first meiotic division, reduction division, leading to the formation of two equal haploid cells that we call the secondary spermatocyte. So first of all, from the spermatogonia, the primary spermatocyte will form, and from the primary spermatocyte, by the reduction division, it will form the secondary spermatocyte. Now, just because secondary spermatocytes are formed from primary spermatocyte by reduction division, so it contains only 23 chromosomes in each. That means only half number of chromosomes are present in the secondary spermatocyte. After that, in secondary spermatocyte, it will again undergoes the secondary meiotic division and it will produce the 4 equal haploid spermatid. So first of all, from spermatogonia, it will produce the primary spermatocyte. After that, the secondary spermatocyte, and from the secondary spermatocyte, by reduction division, it will forms the spermatid. And the spermatid, after some time, it will transform into the spermatozoa, and this process is known as the spermiogenesis. That means the process in which the spermatid is transformed into the spermatozoa or sperm, we called it spermiogenesis. So after spermiogenesis, the sperms had become embedded in the Sertoli cells and are finally released from the seminiferous tubule by the process of spermiation. So what is happening after spermiogenesis? The sperm head, it became embedded in the Sertoli cell. That means it will be stuck in the Sertoli cell, or it will be enter inside the Sertoli cell, and finally it will release from the seminiferous tubule, and this process is known as the spermiation. So when the sperms are released from the seminiferous tubule, that process is known as spermiation. Now in this diagram we can easily understand that the spermatogonium, it will undergoes mitotic division, it will produce the primary spermatocyte. In primary spermatocyte, when the meiotic division occur, it will produce the secondary spermatocyte. In this secondary spermatocyte, the second meiotic division occur and it will form the spermatid. And after formation of spermatid, it will transport into the spermatozoa, and the process known as the spermiogenesis. Now, as told earlier, that the spermatogenesis start at the age of puberty, and the reason behind that, in this age, the significant increase in the secretion of gonadotropin release hormone is observed, and due to this hormone, our body is starting the spermatogenesis. So this gonadotropin releasing hormone, it is a hypothalamic hormone. That means it is released by the hypothalamus, and increase in the level of gonadotropin releasing hormone, then it will act on the anterior portion of pituitary gland, and it will stimulate and secretion of two gonadotropins that we call the luteinizing hormone and the follicular stimulating hormone. So LH and FSH, these are the two hormones that will be secreted by the pituitary gland or the anterior pituitary gland by the increase in the secretion of gonadotropin release hormone. So first of all, gonadotropin release hormone will secrete. It will stimulate the pituitary gland to secrete the gonadotropins that we call the luteinizing hormone and the follicular stimulating hormone. And after that, LH that we call the luteinizing hormone act at the leading cell and stimulate the synthesis and secretion of androgen. So this luteinizing hormone will act on the leading cell. It will stimulate and secrete, or it will synthesize the androgen, and the androgen in turn stimulate the process of spermatogenesis. So how long process it is? So first of all, the GnRH that we call the gonadotropin release hormone, it will secrete. Then it will act on the pituitary gland. It will secrete two gonadotropin that we call the LH and FSH. Then LH will act on the leading cell. It will stimulate the secretion of androgen, and this androgen will turns the spermatogenesis on. And the FSH act on the Sertoli cell and stimulates some of the factors that are responsible or that are helping in the spermatogenesis. Now, if we observe the structure of the sperm, then we will find that it is composed of head, neck, middle part, and the tail. So, in this diagram, we can also see. So, this complete portion is the head. This is the neck portion. This complete portion is the middle part, and the last portion is tail. So, these are the parts of a sperm. On the top, it contains a acrosome, and this acrosome contains some enzyme that are able to degenerate the outer wall of the ovum, and that facilitate at the time of fertilization. So it is very important for any sperm that it contains acrosome so that it can enter inside the ovum and fuse with it. In the middle portion, it contains numerous mitochondria, and this mitochondria will provide the energy at the time of movement. So whenever the sperm is moving in the medium, at that time this mitochondria will provide the energy. And the last portion that we call the tail, so this tail helps in the movement on any medium. So whenever the sperm is released, so energy is needed, then this energy is provided by the mitochondria, and for the movement the tail is helping. Now human male ejaculate about 200 to 300 million sperms during a coitus, of which for more normal fertility at least 60% sperm must have the normal shape and size, and for at least 40% of them have shown the vigorous motility. That means at the time of coitus, 200 to 300 million sperms are released at a time, and out of that 60% should be normal shape and size for the fertility, and out of them 40% at least are showing the vigorous motility. Now whenever the sperms are released, it will be transported by the accessory ducts. So whatever the accessory ducts are there, so that will be transferred them. After that, the secretion of the epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicle, and the prostate are essential for the maturation and the motility of the sperm. So whenever these type of glands are helping, or these are secreting the materials, so this is very essential for their maturity as well as for their motility. So without them, the sperms are not able to mature as well as they will not motile. Now the semen plasma or the seminal plasma along with the sperm constitute the semen. So whatever the secretions are released by these type of gland and sperm, it will constitute the semen. Now the functional of the male sex accessory ducts and the glands are maintained by the testicular hormone androgen. So whatever the function of sex male accessory glands or accessory ducts, so these ducts it is working, and also the glands whatever they are working, so these they are working as well as their function, it is maintained by the testicular hormone that we call the androgen. So this is the very important hormone for their functioning. Now the process of formation of mature female gamete is known as the oogenesis, and this oogenesis is entirely different from the spermatogenesis. Now how it is different, let's see. So oogenesis is initiated during the embryonic development, while spermatogenesis was started at puberty, but this is started at embryonic development. And in this stage, what is happening, when the couple of million gamete mother cell that we call the oogonia are formed within each fetus. So in this females only, what is happening, a couple of million gamete mother cell that we call the oogonia are formed in each fetus at the time of embryonic development, and no more oogonia are formed and added after birth. That means that much amount of oogonia is formed, it is enough. After that, nothing will be added or reduced. Now these cells starts division and enter into the prophase of the meiotic division and get temporarily arrested at the state called the primary oocyte. So from the oogonia, it will enter in the division prophase first of meiotic division, and after that it will be temporary remains there and called the primary oocyte. So these oogonia will be converted into primary oocyte, and each primary oocyte then gets surrounded by a layer of a granulosa cell, and then it will call the primary follicles. So whenever these primary oocyte it will surrounded by the granulosa cell, then this we call the primary follicles. And a large number of these follicles degenerate during the phase from birth to the puberty. That means till the females are reaches to the puberty, so lots of these primary follicles are already degenerated. So therefore at puberty only the 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles are left in each ovary. So that means that much amount of ovaries are left, and the primary follicle gets surrounded by the more layer of the granulosa cell. That means first of all the primary oocyte it will surrounded by the granulosa cell, it will form the primary follicle. After that the primary follicle is again surrounded by the granulosa cell, it will converted into the secondary follicles, and the secondary follicle soon transformed into the tertiary follicle, which is characterized by the fluid filled cavity called the antrum. So in this diagram we can see, so this is the primary follicle, and when this primary follicle is surrounded by more layer of granulosa cells, then it will convert into the secondary follicle, and after that it will again transform into the tertiary follicle, which is characterized by the showing of anterum. So this fluid filled is the anterum. Now the theca layer is organized into an inner theca interna and an outer theca externa. That means whatever the follicles are there, so these follicles are basically surrounded by the granulosa cell. So the inner part of these cells are known as the inner theca interna, and the outer portion is known as the external or the outer theca externa. Now it is important to draw your attention that it is at this stage that the primary oocyte within the tertiary follicle grows in size and complete its first meiotic division. That means at the long time that it is getting its first meiotic division, and it is an unequal division, and after unequal division it will forms a large haploid secondary oocyte and a tiny first polar body. So after first meiotic division, what is happening, a haploid secondary oocyte is formed and a tiny first polar body is formed. Now whatever the cytoplasm is left from the primary oocyte, it is retained by the secondary oocyte. So reason behind that, for further development it will be used as a nutrition medium. Now does the first polar body born out of first meiotic division divide further or it will degenerate? That means whatever the polar body that is formed at the time of division, first meiotic division, and secondary oocyte, and the polar body was formed. So this polar body will further divide or it will degenerate. So we don't know about that. So we are not certain about that. Now, the tertiary follicle further change into the mature follicle that we call the Graafian follicle. So the tertiary follicle will convert into the Graafian follicle, and the secondary oocyte form a new membrane called the zona pellucida. So whatever the secondary oocyte is formed, it will form a new membrane that we call the zona pellucida surround them. Now Graafian follicle now ruptured and released the secondary oocyte. So whatever the secondary oocyte was there, the Graafian follicule's membrane, it will ruptured and it will release the secondary oocyte that we call the ovum. And the process in which the ovum is released, we called it ovulation. Now by the help of this diagram, we can easily understand the complete process. So in males, the spermatogenesis, what is happening, the spermatogonia that was the starting, it will undergoes mitotic division, it will start dividing and it will forms the primary spermatocyte, and in this primary spermatocyte it will undergoes first meiotic division and it will produce the secondary spermatocyte, and in this secondary spermatocyte again the second meiotic division will occur and it will forms the spermatid, and this spermatid will undergo differentiation and it will form the spermatozoa or sperms. But what is happening in the females? So oogonia which was formed, so it will divide and forms the primary oocyte, and this primary oocyte it is formed in the fetus time or in the embryonic development time. Now after that the first meiotic division will occur after a long time and it will convert into the secondary oocyte, and this secondary oocyte as well as it will also form the first polar body, and in this first secondary oocyte what is happening, again the second division occur, it will forms the ovum and the secondary polar body, and that is occur at the adult time. So this is a very difference there, that in males the spermatogenesis occur at the time of puberty, but the development of or the starting of gametogenesis in the female it is occur at the fetal time. So this is the main difference between the male and female spermatogenesis, or sorry, the gametogenesis.